Welcome, my name is Abel Sanchez. Today we're going to be talking about JavaScript. Let's start off by discussing the numbers. The number of JavaScript programs that are executed every day is larger than anything else that exists. Think about your browser. Think about how much time you spend in it. Every single time you download a page, you're executing a JavaScript program. So by far, this is the largest platform that you can write to. And as we've seen in the last 5 years, the trend of web applications backed by cloud storage is one that is perpetuating itself. Now, if you think about mobile devices, the same pattern is emerging. The first generation of mobile devices had native application. As time has gone on, we see more and more HTML5, which lies on a foundation of JavaScript, executing within the smartphone. So this is a pattern that is taking over computing, if you would. And if you think about reach and impact and what kind of platform you can write to, by far the largest platform you can write for today, the language that is being executed by far the most is JavaScript. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and look at some of the history. We're closing in on 20 years of JavaScript. JavaScript was introduced in 1995, and for those of us who have grown up with the web, we still think of it as a small toy language, if you would. But a lot has changed in those 20 years since. We certainly don't look like we did 20 years ago, neither does JavaScript. The capability, power, stability, robustness of the language has changed dramatically. And the investments have been made by some of the major companies in the space. It's not just the web companies. In fact, Apple is the backer of WebKit, one of the wider deployed and most used browser platforms that exist today. So the language of JavaScript itself has gone tremendous transformation. A lot of the criticisms that were made of the language originally were the same criticisms that were made of the browser. It doesn't have access to the hardware, it doesn't have access to the file system, and it has a lot of limitations. It's clunky and it's slow. All of that has been addressed. We now have access to the GPU, we have access to sensors, and there's increasing work to give us that full capability to go completely offline and to have access to the file system and storage, much like you would in any other language. So with that, we see that we've had a new generation of capabilities within the browser and a new level of performance. A lot of the same features that were brought to the operating systems in the early days, like memory isolation, are being brought to JavaScript today. So we see that we're establishing a new era of computing, whereas the first one, applications were written directly to the operating system, and in the second one, that were written against a virtual machine, where Java and .NET, and a lot of that is still with us today. Now we're seeing a new generation upon which the applications are written directly onto the virtual machine for JavaScript that exists within the browser. They are interpreted and they run on top of the browser. So with that, let's go ahead and think about what other impacts JavaScript has had. JavaScript has had tremendous success and impact. So much so that it's gone beyond the browser. Now we see it on the server side. And for those of us who grew up in the days of the web and saw the early days of JavaScript, this seems crazy. It seems like heresy. But in fact, it's having tremendous success. And one of the fastest growing HTTP servers today is Node.js, which is JavaScript on the server side on a web server. All of this seems contrary to what we've always seen in the past, but in fact is having great success. You can see companies like Amazon already offering Node services. We see companies like Azure doing the same. And in fact, it hasn't been just the HTTP server. We see it also in storage. We see CouchDB, we see MongoDB living that JavaScript life, making that interface available in JavaScript. And we see it, again, supporting the server side, which we hadn't seen in the past. So this is certainly a new dimension, and it's a testament to how well JavaScript is doing within the client that is in fact spreading all the way out into the server side. In closing, we see JavaScript having tremendous success in enabling a new generation of applications, a new platform to deploy applications. And it is not just on the client side, you also see it on the server side, and even in storage. JavaScript always had that tremendous reach. It runs on top of the browser. But now we see that it has the performance and the stability. We see it getting greater access into the hardware. We see it doing things that only the native applications used to be able to do in the past. In fact, now it's running even on the server side, where only the high-performance languages ran before. Now we see JavaScript as well. And lastly, we see it enabling a new generation of applications that are backed by the cloud and are running in the enterprise. So with that, we see a tremendous promise for JavaScript as a language. And with that, I would like to close and thank you for your attention.